All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets for the London game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears. Let's go on and get into it. Now, as always, I like to do a game preview to start out the game, set the expectations for it, so we know kind of maybe if we should be chasing more under bets or more over bets. And so if we look at this game, it's a game where the game total is going to be 44.5 or so. The Chicago Bears are going to be favored to win by 1.1 points. That line has adjusted a little bit as the week has progressed. I do find this line interesting because I would say if the game was not in London, I think we would probably be going in on the Chicago Bears a decent amount. At the same time, I do think because the game is in London, that might favor the Jaguars a little bit, just given the fact that they had that experience playing overseas. They're well adapted to that. And, you know, they look good last week. They haven't been terrible. And it really just depends on how Caleb Williams looks. I don't think we can really use last week as a perfect example of what to expect from the Bears because the Carolina Panthers just looked terrible. Granted, the Bears look great, but it's tough. Like, I would probably favor the Jaguars here, but all in all, I'm probably not betting on the game. In terms of players that are injured for the Chicago Bears, nothing really too much that we're concerned with. The biggest question for the Jaguars is going to be whether or not Evan Ingram is going to be back and active. And then we also have Gabe Davis currently questionable, but it does seem like he's going to play. I will say, if Evan Ingram is active in this game, that might make me like Christian Kirk a little bit less than I typically would. Now, a lot of people are going to see maybe the snap counts from last week and be potentially a little bit concerned. Because when we look at the snap counts from last week, we are going to see Christian Kirk played a season low 53% of the snaps. I think that was mostly due to like their personnel that they're running out there. Basically, Tank Bigsby got a lot of work in that game. We did see some 2 tight end sets going on as well. It was just a more running back heavy type game script. And thus, you're not going to have Christian Kirk out there. Christian Kirk is the slot receiver. If they're running out a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of 10 personnel, it will be Christian Kirk out there. So I don't think we should be like too worried about that. If the game script warrants him being on the field, which basically all of them have, then we should be able to trust him. Now, he still had a great game, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 88 receiving yards, still had a good game there. But I would say, like, if we're making some sort of correlated slips, Tank Bigsby overs with maybe potentially Christian Kirk unders, I would say makes sense. Now, when we look at the snaps counts that I have pulled up here for the Jaguars, we're going to notice that Tank Bigsby ended up with more snaps than Travis Etienne last week. Now, Tank Bigsby has looked great, but also Travis Etienne hasn't been bad as well. It's just one of those things where they both have looked great, I would say. And I kind of expect this to continue, but I still think Travis Etienne is going to have the first crack at it. Like, basically every single time I've seen like Tank Bigsby pop a big play, I'm like, oh, he's going to take over this role. And then Travis Etienne comes in as well and makes a solid play as well. So it's a good problem to have, I would say, for Jacksonville. But again, Tank Bigsby overs, I would say, with Christian Kirk unders is the most logical option. We take a peek at the Bears snap counts, and really my biggest takeaway with the Chicago Bears is looking at the running back position. DeAndre Swift has looked great, guys. He has looked really good. Again, last week against Carolina, tough not to look good. Roschon Johnson did end up getting a short yardage touchdown, but that was really after DeAndre Swift got them down there. It did seem like if they weren't worried about like Swift not being a little tired after getting them down there, that he would have got the carry there. So good things there for him. And then we look at the receiver snaps for the Chicago Bears as well. Pretty high for all of them. So Keenan Allen went from 68% of the snaps in his first week back to 81. So right back up to high snap share. And then obviously Odunze and DJ Moore got a lot of work there as well. Cole Kmet is firmly entrenched in that like top tight end role. He had a couple big plays there as well. And for what it's worth, like Caleb Williams, sure, he had a lot of time, but he looked great. He did. He scrambled really well, hit a lot of open receivers. Like, can't really fault him for that. Part of my concern with him at the start of the season was the fact that he just wasn't getting a lot of time during the preseason, and that did carry over. And this was crucial for him. He needed to have a good game because I really felt like he was really 2 more bad games away from just becoming Bryce Young 2.0, where you start to develop these bad habits where you're feeling pressure when it's not there. So huge game for him last week. He looked really good. And again, if this game wasn't in London, I think we would just be really targeting a lot of the Chicago Bears overs. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So I do want to show you guys the full board right now so you guys can kind of see what are the top prop bets currently. If these are still available by the time you guys are watching this, by all means, go ahead and make these bets. So like Jamar Chase under anytime touchdowns, Mike Evans under receptions. Mike Evans going against Marshawn Lattimore somewhat. He's actually really struggled against the Saints. Like, his fantasy points dropped like 4 points against the Saints, which is crazy. Tank Dell, whatever, Dalton Schultz under receptions. And then we got the two from this game here, Keenan Allen and Christian Kirk. So let's go ahead and actually start out with the Chicago Bears. And so, yes, Keenan Allen his total is at under 4.5 receptions. The projection they like him to get under as well. This is a great EV bet. This is one that I do expect to get bumped down as well. I would say this does correlate really heavily with Rome Odunze Gannon's over fantasy score as well. To me, it's who do they try to get the football to quick in their sets? Like, who are they getting manufactured touches to? We know it's going to go to DJ Moore a little bit. Probably going to go to DeAndre Swift as well. So I do think that kind of leaves really Keenan Allen as the odd man out. That being said, this is one of the best matchups that a receiver can have all year. And if he ends up playing a full allotment of snaps, I do like him to get the over. Again, it's a great matchup, but at the same time, he didn't look like his normal self last week. I think that's a big takeaway I saw from last week. Just didn't have that kind of. He's never been a quick twitch type of receiver or anything like that, but like the elusiveness and his route running, I didn't exactly see that. Like defenders weren't exactly biting on his footwork. Now it's one game, 6 targets. I really just watched the 6 targets and 3 receptions. So it could just be an outlier. But again, I do think that does correlate pretty heavily with Rome Odunze to get his over. And again, great matchup. We want to be targeting this matchup. Rome Odunze had a good game, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 40 yards. I like that. I like that decent amount. And maybe you do both. Obviously, this is the better route to go. Rome Odunze over fantasy score, Keenan Allen under 4.5 receptions, but maybe you flip it, where you're doing Rome Odunze to struggle and Keenan Allen to get his over receptions. And then from there, what other prop bets are we currently getting? I liked how DeAndre Swift looked really great. I don't feel the need to go in on that one too much. Do you think it's worth calling out the prop line difference for Keenan Allen in his fantasy score? Underdog is really valuing him a lot higher. So that's another one where on Underdog, we're betting the under for Keenan Allen. Fantasy score, feel pretty good about that. Kind of naturally speaking, I do expect DJ Moore to have a little bit of a regression game, just given the fact that he's coming in off of a massive game as well. So I don't know how I'd want to game script that necessarily, but let's take a peek at Caleb Williams and his fantasy score. 18 does seem to be kind of high, but this is a great matchup again. And so maybe if the rushing game struggles, we could see Caleb Williams getting his over fantasy score. That to me is going to be one where I don't feel the need to exactly go in on it. So let's go ahead and jump into the Jaguars, sticking with PrizePicks. And so looking at it, guys, the Jaguars, the top prop bet that we do have is going to be Christian Kirk for under his fantasy score. And this should kind of sound the alarms a little bit in your head when looking at this with the Keenan Allen fantasy score, how this is pretty much a 1-for-1 swap with how Underdog valuing it and how PrizePicks is valuing it. Again, Underdog does 0.5 PPR, PrizePicks does full point PPR. So there's a slight calculation adjustment there. But it's crazy that the Keenan Allen line is that there's that big of a difference. But looking at guys, Evan Ingram does have a fantasy score. So that tells us that Vegas is somewhat thinking he's going to play. And if he does, I think that does hurt Christian Kirk a little bit, because you look at both Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk, where are they successful? A little bit more across the middle. Now, Christian Kirk should have had some bigger games. There's a few deep touchdowns that Trevor Lawrence has missed him on. That's kind of the nature of Trevor Lawrence. Very much hit or miss. Either he looks like the top 5 quarterback in the league or a guy that barely shouldn't be starting. It's one of the most annoying things about Trevor Lawrence. I'm fine with doing Christian Kirk for under his fantasy score. But again, I would probably find some sort of correlated bet I could do with that. They have made conscientious effort, especially in week 2 and week 3 and week 4, to get Christian Kirk the football. Sorry, week 5, week 4, and week 3. Against Buffalo, he had some quick and early targets. I think they need to get back to that. And against the Chicago defense that really can get after you, I'm not sure they're going to be able to have the time to take some of those deep shots that this offense has kind of been designed to do. So in my head, it should be a good Christian Kirk game. So all in all, I am going to have some of this bet because the board is telling us to. If you guys literally just bet the top 7 prop bets on the board last week, and those are all the ones that were over 54% likely to hit, only one missed. It was Keenan Allen over fantasy score. But this one, to me, I'm struggling to get to. I think a lot of people are going to bet on Travis Etienne to get under his fantasy score, and I'm kind of okay with that. Again, Tank Bigsby has looked great. Honestly, one of the better bets is probably going to be Cam Little to get over 6.5 for a fantasy score. The Jaguars really haven't had a red zone threat. That might be my favorite bet. I don't know, guys. I'm kind of looking the opposite way. I think just Christian Kirk to get 4 receptions feels like a good bet to me. Like, I think he will get 4 receptions. I think this is a good chance to be a push, but I probably would be favoring the over a decent amount here. Just talking it through, I think that makes the most sense. Then I'm just going to sort it by the top prop bets that we have on the underdog board. And really, it does seem to be a little bit of a better board on the underdog. Just how much work will Evan Ingram get in this game? It's a little annoying here. Again, I think Ingram and Christian Kirk, they shouldn't really coexist together too well. And so I could see doing this where we're doing Keenan Allen under fantasy score with Evan Ingram under fantasy score, and then Christian Kirk under fantasy score with Keenan Allen under fantasy score. I think that's probably the best route to go. And really, as simple as that, I think that's what we're going to be looking at for this game. And so kind of simple for underdog. Let's jump into just my favorite prop bets for this game. And right now, guys, we are getting a good EV bet on FanDuel. If you guys want to make that, J.K. Dobbins over 13.5 receiving yards. That's off by 0.8%. Should never be happening. Decent bet there. So on the traditional books, we're really not going to get any big edges in terms of like sports being completely wrong, but let's take a peek at the projected edge. And so we can see that the projection data likes Travis Etienne a little bit more than Vegas is liking him. And so if you kind of think Etienne's going to have a good game, maybe you don't see Tank Bigsby having a great game, well, then you could do Travis Etienne over his rush yards. About a 3% edge really on FanDuel, BetOnline AG, HardRockBet, BetMGM. So that's decent. One that I probably would like to get to more, Christian Kirk for over receiving yards, but I probably would like him more so for receptions. But that's a good bet in terms of how the projection data likes it. That's on BetOnline AG, so not a bad bet there. But really what I want to look at is going to be the receptions props. To me, those are the easiest to hit week in and week out. DeAndre Swift to get over 2.5 receptions, I don't hate. Minus 128 is not the best odds for that, but I don't hate that. I think he could have a good game. Then I did want to take a peek at Christian Kirk. What are the best bets for Christian Kirk to get over 4.5 receptions? HardRockBet plus 120. I don't hate that. I think there's a chance that they do try to get him the football early in this game. If they don't, it might just be pass plays to Travis Etienne as well. The FanDuel has it at plus 122, so not terrible there as well. For what it's worth, Roma Dunze had 3.5 receptions there as well. I actually think that's one that stands out to me, plus 100. That's kind of crazy. Get behind that. Yeah, let's take a further look at Roma Dunze. And yeah, this is kind of fascinating. So on one site, it's at minus 110 on Fliff for him to get over 3.5 receptions. And then also HardRockBet has it at minus 105. And then Roma Dunze on FanDuel plus 112 to get over 3.5 receptions. I think that's a pretty good bet there, guys. I like that one. So that's probably my favorite traditional sportsbook bet. You could also do Christian Kirk, like I mentioned, but let's go ahead and get into my favorite bets for this game. But before we do that, guys, do want to call out that this video is sponsored by myself, 9to5sports.com. Head on over there to get access to the tools that you saw in this video, as well as NFL DFS tools, fantasy golf tools as well. You can get access to all the tools that you saw in this video for just $10 a month. But when you use the promo code Keep Cashing, you guys will get 20% off your first month membership. So it'll be an $8 membership for the first month. Already a great value. Get $2 off the first month. All right, guys, so get into the bet slip here. Again, Keenan Allen is going to be the best bet that we have on the board for him to get under fantasy score, especially compared to really how PrizePicks is valuing him. Like, heck, PrizePicks has him at 10.5 and his reception line is at 4.5. So that should tell us that, like, at 9 point, let's just round up to 5, that's too high on underdog. And we clearly see that when looking at the 9-to-5 cheat sheet. Then I did mention I probably would want to choose like one of the two to pair up with him, but maybe we don't need to do both of them. But I did want to make this a 5-slip bet. And so with that, I do think that Travis Etienne getting over 2.5 receptions would correlate well with Christian Kirk not having a good game. And then again, I do like Roma Dunze to get over 3.5 receptions there. I think that's a better sportsbook bet, but to make this a 5-slip bet on an underdog, that's the bet I chose to go with. And so looking at the best bets that we currently have on PrizePicks, it's one of these annoying slates where I would probably want to bet the opposite. It's a slate where I would rather bet the overs on, like, let's say Sleeper, or if you guys have access to Fliff, or you guys bet on a traditional sportsbook, I probably would want to do the opposite of these because Jaguars have been a great defense. Again, the London nature of this game does add in another variable. These are two really good EV bets that will probably get bumped by morning of the London game. A little bit annoying there. And then Christian Kirk under his fantasy score. Again, I kind of see him potentially having a good game. Don't love that, but these are the best bets that are popping up on the board. All of them have a 54% likelihood to hit, so those are going to be the ones I'm running out. Don't love it, but that's that's just the best bets that we have. And sometimes that sucks. So if you're kind of with me and agree with Vegas or don't agree with Vegas, maybe look for other options to place some of these bets. But that's going to be all for this video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want access to the tools, again, head on over to 9to5sports.com, invest in yourself so that you can start making more educated bets to be profitable in the long term. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with your bets for this London game. And as always, let's keep cashing.